Hi, it's Dre Griggs with Obsidian Wisdom. Today we'll be answering the question, how do I prepare to meet a financial planner? Most entrepreneurs and families worry about money, so we created the Wisdomites framework to help you eradicate financial stress, generate a passive income, and build a prosperous retirement strategy. We are fiduciary advisors who combine comprehensive financial advice with retirement planning and generational wealth management. Today's proverb of the day, share your thoughts in the comments below, is if you close your eyes to facts, you will learn through accidents. Share your thoughts on what that proverb means in the comments below. Any stories or examples that you have lived through as well will be encouraged too. And I will link this video ultimately to when we discuss the proverb on Wisdom Wednesday. So today there are 6 things we're going to cover when you are preparing to meet your financial planner. First and foremost, anytime that you're going to meet with someone, anytime you're going to put a plan together, you have to first know what success looks like. What is the ultimate goal that you are setting for yourself? More times than not, when we just set expectations, but we don't actually know what success looks like, we could end up setting unrealistic expectations, or we could end up setting goals that don't actually make us feel good when it's all said and done. Where you go on this journey and you thought that this is what success looked like, or maybe the goalpost keeps moving because you're not really sure what success looks like. You're just kind of waiting for that gut feeling that's like, this is what I've been searching for the whole time. And while that does happen from time to time, I find it's more advantageous for you to go ahead and put a design, a plan together. Doesn't mean that you can't update the plan every so often when you're like, hey, you know what? That was something that was important to me 6 months ago, and now I realize that this is what's important to me. Just simply knowing where you've been and where you're going and where you're at is already going to put you ahead of like 95% of people, because the majority of people don't write anything down. So you want to at least take the time to write down what success looks like. You want to be able to share that with your advisor when you meet with them. You want to be able to say, this is what we're trying to accomplish. This is the whole reason that we're doing all of this. And then a good advisor is going to be able to translate what success looks like with the plan to get you there. So you want to make sure that whether you're just setting up time to maybe you meet with your family, your spouse, once a week where you go over your finances, just anytime that you really have a meeting, right? They always tell you, well, don't waste your time. You want to have an agenda set. Well, when you're meeting with a financial planner for the first time, they're going to have an agenda that they're going to share with you, but you should also have your own. You should be able to explain what success looks like for you. Most people are searching for that feeling of, I enjoy Fridays because I feel free. I'm able to do what I want to do. I'm able to wake up when I want to wake up, go to sleep when I want to go to sleep, and I'm able to spend my days doing what I want to do with who I want to do it. And so most of the time, that's what we're seeking. We're seeking that freedom, that ability to choose how we spend our time. And you want to make sure that you convey exactly what success looks like. The next thing you want to do is just consider the needs of your family. When you're talking about the needs of your family, that could be talking about legacy, where you're like, hey, this is what success looks like for my family. You could be talking about college, where I want to be able to pay for some, or if not all, of my children's college experience. Or if you feel like maybe that's not what they want to do, and they have a business idea that they want to engage in, that you're like, okay, I want to be able to give them some seed money when they start their first company, or they want to create their first invention. Whatever it is that you're going to help them accomplish, you want to make sure that you have that written down, that that's a part of the overall discussion in your plan. For others, this is just talking about whether or not you have life insurance and a will and a trust and things like that. And we'll talk a little bit more about estate planning a little bit later in the discussion. But you do want to make sure you at least have maybe questions about, how much life insurance should I have? Do I have the right amount? How long should I have it? Should I have term or whole life? What age should I have it stop by? It really depends a lot on the overall situation for your family. If your family has like a $400,000 house and you just bought it, well, then you should at least have insurance that covers the mortgage, so that if something happens to you or your spouse, and the mortgage was designed based on the fact that you had a 2-income household, it definitely happens where people get a home together and then something happens to one of the spouses, and then not only does the other spouse have to deal with the funeral and the loss of their forever partner, they have to also deal with where they're going to live at, because the house, they wouldn't have been able to get it if it was a one income household. Almost literally, the day before you sign on the dotted line, you should already have the insurance set in place for such a thing. Now, others, they want to cover even more stuff, where they want to cover the family trips and the college funding, as we mentioned, and things. They want basically life to go on exactly as it would have if you or the spouse was there the entire time. And so they cover a little bit more. All of this comes into discussions that you want to have with your advisor when you're deciding what it is that you want to be covering or thinking about when it comes to your family. Next, you want to talk about just creating your own personal balance sheet. And your balance sheet is really just like any well-run business. You need to know what your assets are and what your liabilities are and what your net worth is. Now, that may not be something that you know ahead of time, right? We often keep our finances in that one drawer in the kitchen where we just put everything in there until it's tax time, and then we pull everything out and we try to comb through it and see if we can figure things out. Where you take your shoebox to your CPA or your advisor and you're like, hey, this is what's going on. And, realistically, all of that is fine. You just want to make sure that you at least have that information with you. Even if you don't go through it ahead of time, you at least want to be able to address some of these things. You want to be able to talk about the expenses that you have. You want to be able to talk about the income that you generate, and you want to be able to roughly give an estimate for that. And what I often tell people is the numbers that we put in is going to dictate the numbers that come out. The more accurate the numbers are, the more accurate the final plan will be. The less accurate the numbers are, if we want to give ranges, well, then if you're estimating high, well, that's fine. The plan's going to estimate high. If you're underestimating, then the plan is going to underestimate. But ideally, you give the numbers so that they're the most accurate numbers possible. And so when that comes into place, you just want to make sure that you know what numbers you're putting into your plan, and you want to keep track of that. Next, once you know where your assets and your liabilities and your net worth is, you then want to be able to keep track of your budget. Now, this really goes very well with the overall balance sheet, but you want to get into at least an understanding of maybe categories where you're like, we spend about 30% of our income on our mortgage, and we spend about 40% of our income on food or discretionary, and we're saving and investing this percent. We give this much away to causes that we believe in. Whatever that looks like, you just want to have an idea. Now, some people will have their budget in significant detail where they know where all of the money goes. And sometimes we just have general ideas where we know that the money is there, and then we know the money is gone, and we don't get any phone calls, so we know our bills are paid. And we just end up spending roughly exactly what comes in one way or another. It always seems like something pops up, some emergency, some one-off, that we end up always just spending exactly what we have. Whichever situation you find yourself in, or if it's even one that I didn't discuss, that is just something that you're going to want to be able to know. Where does our money go each month when it comes to budgeting and understanding? Ideally, there's a situation where we're able to put a plan together that is revenue neutral. And what I mean is we are able to reallocate the way that you spend some of your money so that you don't have to actually increase your spending. Where you're like, okay, I spend $100 over here, I spend a couple $100 over there, and we're able to say, okay, well, let's find something that maybe let's do this once a quarter or once a year, or let's find an alternative source for this that has a better going price, or it's just something that you maybe just forgot about, and it was something that you weren't really interested in spending your money in towards that anymore, and so you just stop altogether. Well, now you can reallocate that money towards your future and your plan, and now you don't have to say, okay, well, where am I going to find this extra money? The budget's already balanced essentially. And so when you know where your money is going, it gives you a great opportunity to be able to reallocate it towards just more effective spending. Next, you want to make sure that your money is working for you. And what I mean is you spend a decent amount of your life where you are working for your money. This is created by the misconception that we're taught from an early age at school, where if you work hard, you get good grades, you'll be able to get a good education, and then you'll be able to get a good job, and then once you start working, you'll be able to provide for your family, you'll be able to buy your house, and all these other things. But the reality is, these are things that cost you your freedom, because the overall goal in life is to be able to choose ultimately what you want to do with your time and with who you want to do it with. Every time that you spend money that you are working your time to get, well, you're only extending the amount of time that you have to work for your money. Ideally, at whatever age you want to retire, you're going to say, okay, halfway to that, half of my money I get by working for my money, half of my money works for me. And so half of my income is created purely by my money working for me, which is a beautiful thing. And it's not something that we teach really in school. And that's part of the problem that most of us have. That is why 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. That is why 65% of people who retire today are going to retire what's considered broke with $5,000 or less in their retirement accounts. It's why most people don't have really anything saved, because we're not taught the concept of our money working for us. So every time we get the money goes out. And as a result, you have to keep working for the money with your time. So we want to be able to give you your time back. So you want to make sure that that's what you're doing. If you want more help understanding your retirement needs, then check out my free retirement planning that works video at obsidianwisdom.com/training. In it, I'll give you the wisdometric framework that I use with my clients to help them achieve their financial goals. Again, that's obsidianwisdom.com/training. And the final way that you want to prepare to meet your financial planner is you want to be thinking about your taxes and estate planning. Look, let's just cut to the chase. You don't want to pay any more in taxes than you need to, and that's okay. But it's often the most overlooked aspect of retirement planning is, what are my taxes? Or is all of my retirement income going to be taxed? Is all of my money in a tax deferred account? Or is all of my money in a tax free account? And then that means I've already paid the taxes. Does it make sense for me to pay the taxes today versus paying the taxes in the future? You also need to understand that estate planning is not just for the wealthy. You want to make sure that you're considering the impact of where your money is at when it comes to passing on to your heirs. Is your money in an account that has to go through probate? And if it does, then that means that you should have a will set up. Is your income to the point that you want to have a trust set up, a living trust, a revocable trust? What is it that you want your money to do? Do you want it to support your church or a cause that you believe in, a nonprofit of some kind? Do you want to make sure that your kids get access to the money right away, or do you want to limit their access because of their age? All of these are questions that you're going to want to be thinking about, because these are going to be important questions for you to make sure that you discuss with your financial planner, that you're going to want to make sure that you have all of these things considered as you prepare to meet with them. You don't want to shortchange yourself. You want to make sure that you get the maximum use of your time, where you're really able to hone in on all of these aspects. You'll hear me mention often that the Wisdometric framework it's 3 steps, but it's broken into 6 parts. And the 3 steps are knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Knowledge is going to help you make money. Understanding is going to help you keep your money. And wisdom is going to help you multiply your money. You want to make sure that you are going in eyes wide open as you prepare to meet with your financial planner. And that'll do it for today. Until next time, Wisdomites, remember that wisdom is asking the right questions to allow yourself to get the right answers. Keep asking those questions and you will keep getting those answers. Continue blessings.